3, we will focus on fall cypress, arborvitae, heath, and others. The Chamaecyparis genus, or fall cypress, includes identification of needle-leaved evergreen trees and shrubs, leaves with scale-like to awl-like shape, with white markings on the undersides of the leaves. The cones are spherical. Our first fall cypress species is Chamaecyparis obtusa nana gracilis, or slender hinoki fall cypress. It's in the family Cuparaceae, has a light preference to full to partial sun and a soil preference of moist, well-drained soils. This fall cypress has flattened horizontal branchlets that droop at the ends with dark green scale-like leaves with white markings beneath them. If you crush the foliage, it is aromatic. Members of this genus sometimes are confused with arborvitae. However, you have to note the white markings on the underside of the leaves in this genus, and those white markings are absent within arborvitae. The cones are small, 8-scaled, greenish to brown. Those are the females that are greenish to brown, and this goes from orange to brown cones with the male. This fall cypress is compact, slow-growing, multi-stemmed. It is an evergreen shrub, and it typically grows to about 3 feet tall over the first 10 years. And it will eventually mature to a pyramidal to conical form, about 6 to 9 feet tall. This fall cypress contains reddish-brown exfoliating bark on mature trees. And just something to note, Nana in Latin means dwarf, and gracilis means slender or graceful. So you guys can connect the dots from the Latin terminology to the actual characteristics of the plant. The next is Chamaecyparis piscifera boulevard, or boulevard fall cypress. It's again in the family Cuparaceae. It has a light preference of full to partial sun and a soil preference of moist to well-drained soils. The leaves are soft, silvery blue-gray foliage. It has a fine textured medium green needles that are also tinted white beneath them. And you also want to know, you see in the photo to the right, it says note dead persistent leaves further back on the branches. You have to realize this is not dieback, this is not issues with the tree, but it's natural. So you are going to see this within the species. This species has a dense pyramidal, semi-dwarf to slow growing appearance, and this is an evergreen shrub, typically reaching 5 to 6 feet tall in 10 years. The cones are small, they're about 1/4 inch across, and they're ornamentally insignificant. You're not gonna see this be a big deal or anything like that. It usually appears green during the summer before turning black to brown when ripe. And then also to note regarding this species that it has a reddish brown exfoliating bark, and this peels in strips. The next is Chamaecyparis piscifera filifera, and that's threadleaf fall cypress. It's in the family Cuparaceae, and then has a light preference of full to partial sun and a soil preference of moist, well-drained soils. This species is noted for its drooping yellow foliage. It features pretty golden weeping form, and it has a thread-like foliage appearance. This provides really good texture for different landscapes as well. And this foliage is attractive in winter for that four-season appeal. Cones are very small, and they only appear on mature plants. They're about 1/4 inch across, and they're again ornamentally insignificant. This is a dense semi-dwarf evergreen shrub that typically grows as a more broad aspect. It's very slow growing, often reaching only 6 to 7 feet tall in about 20 years. And it also has a peeling and exfoliating reddish brown bark that develops on mature branches. The next we have Chamaecyparis piscifera filifera aurora, or it's gold thread fall cypress. And this is in the family Cupressaceae. It has a light preference of partial sun and a soil preference of moist to well-drained soils. And this also has that drooping yellow foliage that's golden to weeping and has a thread-like foliage as well. And this is a dense semi-dwarf evergreen shrub. Typically it grows to about 7 feet tall, and it also has an exfoliating bark. Okay, now we have Chamaecyparis piscifera scorotia, or moss fall cypress. It's in the family Cupressaceae and has a light preference of partial sun and a soil preference of moist, well-drained soils. This species features feathery blue-green needle-like juvenile foliage that stands out from the older twigs. And then here, I still want you guys to note that dead persistence of those needles on the branches. It's not like the plant is unhealthy or anything. This is natural. This is a broad, upright, semi-dwarf shrub that typically grows about 5 to 6 feet tall and 10 years, and it has an irregular habit. The next plant species that we have is Erica x darliensis, and that's Darley Heath. It's from the family Ericaceae. It has a light preference of full sun and a soil preference of moist to well-drained soils. This plant species is an evergreen, has evergreen leaves that are very short and narrow. These leaves are also rolled in along the edges, as you can see. It almost resembles spruce needles. So the leaves are needle-like, and they're about 13 millimeters, and they're in whorls here. The leaf arrangement is in whorls. The flowers are white to rose, and they appear in late fall and may continue until about mid-spring. So they are winter blooming, which you don't really see here. So this is a special plant, and this can add that four-season appeal that your clients may be looking for. This is a broadleaf evergreen ground cover shrub. It grows to be about 2 feet with equal or greater spread, and it is also multi-stemmed. Next, we have Kalmia latifolia, or mountain laurel. It's in the family Ericaceae. It has a light preference of full, partial, and full shade, and a soil preference of moist to well-drained soils. The leaves are elliptic, alternate, and they're also very leathery, and they have that glossy appearance to it. These are evergreen leaves. They're about 5 inches long. And you can also note that they have a dark green coloration on the upper surface of the leaf, and on the lower surface of the leaf, it's yellow-green. And you could think of this plant, it resembles rhododendrons tremendously. The flowers appear in terminal clusters or corms. They're about 6 inches across, and they typically cover the shrub in late May to June for several weeks. And each flower is about an inch across, as you can see in the photo. And it's a cup shape. It has 5 sides, and it ranges in colors from rose, white, and it also has those purple markings in the inside of it. The fruit is non-showy. It's a brown fruit, dehiscent capsule that also persists into winter. Here's the plant in a forest understory. It's multi-stemmed, broadleaf evergreen shrub or small tree. It's dense to rounded shrub, and it grows to about 5 to 15 feet tall. And just something to note about this plant, that all of the plant parts in this are toxic if ingested, so please don't eat this. And then obviously you can see a bunch of different cultivars here, and many of the cultivars differ in flower color or size of the mature plant as well. Now we have Leucotho fondinesiana and Leucotho axillaris. And that is the drooping Leucotho and dog hobble. They're both in the family Ericaceae, and they have a light preference of partial sun to full shade and a soil preference of moist to well-drained soils. The leaf with Leucotho of Fundonesiana is leathery, lanceolate, and has an evergreen leaf that's about 5 inches long. And it has serrate margins and it tapers to a long point as well. Now, with Leucothro oxylaris, we have very thick, shiny, dark green leaves, and this leaf turns to a purplish bronze hue in the winter. Fontonesiana has drooping spikes of waxy urn-shaped, creamy white flowers that droop from the leaf axils in spring, and that's around May. Then we have Axillaris, and that has clusters of slightly fragrant, and they're very heather-like white flowers, which also bloom in May. The habit of Fontonesiana is suckering to multi-stemmed broadleaf evergreen shrub with arching branches, and this typically grows to a mound of 3 to 6 feet tall, and the same as wide. Then we have Axillaris, and this is low-growing evergreen shrub that is spreading. It's more vase-like shaped and will mature slowly to a height about 3 to 4 feet tall. Now we get into thuja or arborvitae. These are needle-leaved evergreen trees and shrubs. They have scale-like leaves, and the cones are ovid. The first one we have is Thuja occidentalis, and that's eastern arborvitae or white cedar. It's in the family Cupressaceae. It has a light preference of full to partial sun and a soil preference of moist to well-drained soils. The leaves are scale-like, aromatic, and they have a yellow to green foliage that appears, and it's very flat. The seed cones are ovid. They're 9 to 14 millimeters long. They're green, maturing to a brownish color. And they also have 2 pairs of woody fertile scales, yielding about 8 seeds per cone. The seeds are red to brown, and they're 4 to 7 millimeters long. Thuja occidentalis is a dense, conical to narrow pyramidal shape. It sometimes matures to a more broad pyramidal shape. It's often single-trunked evergreen tree, and it matures to reach about 40 to 60 feet tall. And then it also has a red brown bark that exfoliates, and this is only on mature branches and trunks. Now we have Thuja occidentalis Rheingold, and that's in the family Cupressaceae, has a light preference of full to partial sun and a soil preference of moist to well-drained soils. Thuja occidentalis Rheingold has bright golden foliage and it's scale-like, and it appears in a flat fan shaped cluster. Now, something to note about the species, the foliage does turn bronze in the winter. So you don't want to go out and look at this plant and you think it's dead. This naturally is occurring in winter months. This is a slow-growing, cone-shaped to dome-shaped plant. It's dwarf cultivar that typically matures to only 3 to 5 feet. Next, we have Thuja plicata, or giant western arborvitae, and it's in the family Cupressaceae, light preference of full to partial sun, and a soil preference of moist to well-drained soils. It features horizontal branching with sprays of scale-like dark green foliage, and this is aromatic when crushed. Note that there are white lines underneath the foliage of this species. The cones are small and upright, and they're also light brown. They're about a ½ inch long. They're the largest tree in the cypress family. They grow about 50 to 70 feet tall. They are fast growing, and they live for 400 to 1,000 plus years. So that's pretty incredible. They're horizontally branching, and they also have that reddish brown bark. Now we have Tsuga canadensis, or Canadian hemlock. It's in the Pinaceae family. It has a light preference of full, partial to full shade, and a soil preference of moist to well-drained soils. The needles are in like flat sprays of lacy evergreen foliage, and it really gives this tree a graceful form. It has short, dark green needles that are about 9/16 of an inch long, with two white bands beneath the needles, and these are arranged in two opposite rows. Also, needles are attached to twigs by slender stalks, and they actually appear upside down. These upside down leaves are on the top of the stem as well. And this species is noted for having very small needles, or the smallest needles in this genus. The cones are small, pendate, and they're short stalk. These cones are 3 to 4 inches long and are tan to a brownish color. And it also has the smallest cones in this genus as well. This tree is a dense pyramidal conifer that grows 40 to 75 feet tall in the wild, and the lower branches often dip toward the ground. They are thick and rigid bark on this mature tree. It's a reddish to brown, almost gray to brown. And and you guys might be thinking, poisonous hemlock. Is this tree poisonous, due to the herbaceous weed? But nothing about this tree is poisonous. I don't recommend eating it, but I will tell you it is not poisonous like poisonous hemlock. Now we have Tsuga caroliniana, and that's Carolina hemlock. That's still in the family Pinaceae, light preference of full, partial to full shade, and a soil preference of moist to well-drained soils. The needles are small and flattened. They are evergreen. They're about 3 to 4 inches long. And they also have two white stomatal bands beneath the needles, and they radiate around the stems. The cones are small and they're nearly sessile. They're short stalked and they're about 1.5 inches long, and they mature to a dark brown. This tree is narrow pyramidal with slightly pendulous branches that typically grow in cultivation about 45 to 60 feet tall, and about 25 feet wide. The bark has a reddish brown to it, and it develops like furrows and ridges with age. And how you can tell Tsuga canadensis from Tsuga carolinia is that Tsuga canadensis is two-ranked and it's upside down, has upside down leaves on the top of the stem. And Tsuga caroliniana has thinner, longer, and more widely spaced needles. And they also, Tsuga caroliniana has scales of cones that are widely spreading, while Tsuga canadensis has scales of cones that do not open very wide. And last but not least, we have Chamaecyparis nucentensis, and that's Nootka falcypris or Alaska cedar. And it's in the family Cupressaceae with a light preference of full sun and a soil preference of moist, well-drained soils. The leaves are drooping sprays of small, scale-like bluish-green foliage. And the seed cones are rounded and they're about a half inch in diameter. This is an evergreen conifer that will grow slowly, but it will reach maturity at 60 to 90 feet tall, and they live for 1,000+ years. The bark is gray and it peels in loose scales as well.